While the rest of the world is panicking over expensive inspections and plastic airplanes that have a shelf life, a small group of smart pilots is quietly hiding out in the grass. This is the truth about 10 forgotten tractors that will outlive the FAA. For 70 years, these machines have been called ugly, slow, or outdated by the guys in the shiny jets. But today, the tables have turned. While modern high-tech planes are being grounded by microscopic cracks and corporate bankruptcies, these iron relics are still working. They do not care about software updates or lead-free fuel mandates. They were built in a time when over-engineered was the only way to build. But there is a hidden secret in their metallurgy that makes them legally immune to the paperwork trap that is killing the rest of the fleet. How did the world's most unwanted planes become the only ones left standing? And is your best chance at staying in the sky actually a 60-year-old tractor? In the 10th place, the Stinson 108 Model 3 stands as the first line in the sand between real tractors and the disposable toys that fill so many hangars today. In June 2012, a Stinson 108 Model 3 tried to claw its way out of a mountain strip in Idaho, heavy and hot, with a tailwind that would have sent most modern flying iPads straight to the salvage yard. 3/4 down the runway, the old Franklin engine gave everything it had, but physics won. The Stinson stalled, dropped into the trees, and folded its steel tube skeleton around the forest. Yet, when the dust settled, all 4 souls inside survived. The fuselage was bent but not shattered, wings deformed, but the main truss, the heart of 4130 chromoly, held. This is not luck. It is the direct result of post-war American overbuild, steel tubing, fabric skin, and a repair manual that reads like a blacksmith's notebook. Field repairs? Standard. Franklin engine parts? Still flowing in from warehouses that outlasted the factories. But the Stinson's limits show up at high-density altitude, where short-field performance cannot cheat the laws of lift. It is a family workhorse, not a bush brute. The Stinson 108 model. 3 sets the baseline. If you want to survive the crash and fix your bird with tools your grandfather would recognize, you start here. But the next tractors on this list are even harder to kill. Number 9. The Aeronca 15AC. Sedan doesn't just survive the apocalypse, it adapts to it. This is the parts swap mule of the backcountry, a machine built for a world where supply chains break and only the clever keep flying. Under the skin, the Sedan's steel tube truss is pure post-war American logic. Every joint welded by hand, every tube ready to take a beating and come back for more. What sets the 15AC apart is its economy of design. The engine is fixed pitch, the controls are mechanical cables, and the parts bin is a living organism. Owners trade gear legs, tail feathers, and even doors like baseball cards. You will find Sedans on floats in Alaska, on spray rigs dusting crops in Kansas, and patched together from donor frames after ground loops that would total a flying iPad. The owner community is a barter network, not a customer base. If you need a new strut, chances are someone has one in a barn, pulled from a wreck and ready to fly again. The Sedan's simplicity makes it a survivor, but its real trick is flexibility. Float kits, bush mods, and homegrown supplemental type certificates keep these airframes working when others sit grounded, waiting for proprietary avionics or unobtainable composites. In a world obsessed with gadgets and glass panels, the Aeronca 15AC Sedan is a mechanical handshake from a time when airplanes were meant to be fixed, not replaced. If all you have is grit and a box of wrenches, this is the tractor that keeps you flying when the rest of the fleet is waiting on a software update. In 8th place, the Maule M-5 is where the word tractor stops being a metaphor and starts looking like a threat. This is the landing gear sledgehammer of the backcountry, a machine that laughs at ruts, rocks, and the kind of terrain that would shatter a flying iPad's nose wheel into modern art. The secret is geometry. Wide track legs planted nearly 9 feet apart, long stroke shocks that swallow potholes whole, and low-pressure tundra tires that turn boulders into gentle bumps. Every main gear leg is forged from spring steel, not for show, but for survival. In Alaska and Montana, you will find M-5s hammering down onto river bars and cattle pastures at angles and speeds that would bankrupt most insurance companies. Field reports show these gears taking 3 to 4 G-forces and popping back with nothing worse than a scuffed tire. Drop test numbers are hard to come by, but in the wild, the Maule's gear shrugs off landings that would total a composite or aluminum monocoque. Maintenance is all about bolt checks, tension nuts, and a grease gun, no proprietary sensors, no groundings for failed circuit boards. The trade-off is a little more weight, a little more drag, but the reward is a machine that keeps standing long after the toys have been hauled away. In a world where field survivability is the only metric that matters, the Maule M-5's gear is a promise. As long as there is dirt to land on, this tractor will find a way home. The Piper. The 20 Pacer is a survivor not because of brute strength, but because of the people who refuse to let it fade away. Built in the late 1940s with steel tube frames and fabric stretched over sturdy bones, the Pacer was always ready for rough ground. Yet its real strength lies in the hands-on culture that has flourished around it. Here, every owner becomes a mechanic, and every mechanic finds ways to keep these taildraggers flying. Engine conversions are common. STC-approved swaps mean a Pacer can go from a modest Lycoming 290 to 160 or even 180 horsepower powerhouse, giving it new life as a bush-ready workhorse. Oversized Alaska bushwheel kits are everywhere, with 31-inch tires and homemade gear braces letting Pacers land where paved runways are just a rumor. The used parts market is thriving, with Univair catalogs and barn finds supplying wings, tail sections, and firewall forward kits that can be bolted on by anyone with determination and a socket set. The FAA paperwork may pile up, but the owner-driven modification ecosystem keeps these planes alive in places where newer models would never last. In the world of the Pacer, adaptability is everything. If something breaks, it is fixed, upgraded, or replaced, often with parts from another Pacer. This is survival by ingenuity, not just endurance. Number 6, the Luscombe 8F, is what happens when you strip away every ounce of excess and leave only the bones of flight. The first time you see a Luscombe on the ramp, it looks almost fragile. 2 seats, a slender tail, and wings so light you can rock them with one hand. But that is the trick. In a world obsessed with mass and muscle, the Luscombe survives by being the featherweight champion. All metal construction, yes, but at a curb weight barely brushing 850 pounds empty. No hydraulic lines, no vacuum pumps, no glass screens waiting to go dark. The Luscombe's entire systems list fits on an index card. Magnetos, cables, a hand-driven trim wheel, and a fuel shutoff you can rebuild with hardware store parts. But the real secret is in the air. The 8F's glide ratio sits near 11:1, better than almost anything in its class. Lose the engine at 2,000 feet, and you have miles to pick a field, flare, and touch down with the kind of gentle energy that turns a crash into a walk away. The stall is so benign you can hold the stick full back and watch the world slow to a crawl, the airplane refusing to bite or spin. In maintenance logs, you will find Luscombes flying past 8,000 hours with original spars, patched skins, and no evidence of fatigue that would ground a flying iPad at a quarter of that time. Owners talk about annuals that cost less than a car tune-up, and repairs that happen in barns, not hangars. The Luscombe does not win by brute force. It wins by refusing to play the game of weight and complexity. When the certification trap snaps shut and inspection costs climb, this is the tractor that slips through the bars, too light to break, too simple to fail, and too honest to ever be called a toy. Number 5. The CallAir A-9 is what happens when you stop pretending airplanes are toys and start building them for war with the Earth itself. Born in the crucible of American agriculture, this is not a machine for gentle fields or polite company. The A-9's bones are farmhand tough, steel tube truss braced with gussets thicker than a modern wing spar, every weld overbuilt for the kind of punishment that would send a flying iPad straight to the scrap heap. Look under the skin and you will find reinforcements at the hopper mount, beefed up attach points where the wing spars meet the fuselage, and a firewall designed to shrug off corrosive fertilizer spray. This is industrial design at its most honest, every inch engineered to survive daily cycles of full gross takeoffs, hard landings in rutted fields, and the relentless vibration of a big-bore Continental running at redline for hours. Maintenance is not a matter of digital diagnostics. It is a wrench and a grease gun every morning before sunrise. Operators run daily inspection intervals, checking for cracks at the gear trunnions, looking for corrosion at the belly longerons, pulling cowling panels designed to be removed with gloved hands in a muddy field. The A-9 service rhythm is as unforgiving as the work it does, and that is the point. In the world of ag duty, fatigue is not theoretical. It is a lived reality, and this airframe was built to take it. Where the Luscombe survives on lightness, the CallAir survives on sheer overkill. It is the difference between a garden hoe and a plow. When the certification trap snaps shut and the flying iPads are grounded for a sensor fault or a corroded bus bar, the CallAir A-9 will still be there, oil-stained, battered, but ready to work. This is the ironclad promise of the forgotten tractor. When the world ends, the last field flown will be by a machine built for dirt, not for display. Number 4. The Interstate S-1 Cadet is the trainer that refuses to let pilot error write its obituary. In a world where the flying iPad shudders at the thought of a rough field or a crooked landing, the Cadet's shock-absorbing undercarriage is a silent promise. You can make mistakes here and still walk away. Its main gear legs are a marvel of 1940s American pragmatism, spring steel not for style, but for survival. Each touchdown, each bounce, each lopsided arrival on a gravel strip is met with a gentle flex and a stubborn refusal to brake. This is not just about brute force. The Cadet's stall is as docile as they come. Pull the stick back and it settles into a gentle mush, not a snap. For a generation of student pilots, that meant a second chance every time. The secret is in the geometry, low wing loading, big control surfaces, and a tail that forgives ham-fisted feet. When a rookie drags a wingtip or slams a wheel, repair is measured in hours, not months. Small fabric-covered surfaces bolt off and on, and the steel tube skeleton shrugs off the kind of abuse that would send a composite trainer to the landfill. In the hands of a careless pilot, the Cadet bends but rarely breaks. That is why so many survived the post-war training boom, patched and flying again while shinier toys were quietly scrapped. The Cadet's genius is its humility, built not to impress, but to endure. When the certification trap snaps shut and every landing is a test, this is the tank that keeps rolling. If the world ended tomorrow, the Cadet would still be out there, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to give it another go. Number 3. The Taylorcraft F-21 is the low-speed lifeboat of the tractor world, a machine that proves sometimes the lightest touch is the last word in survival. In a sky full of flying iPads, bristling with circuit boards and glass, the F-21 is a study in restraint. No hydraulic lines, no digital screens, no sensors waiting to betray you. Just steel tube bones, fabric skin, and controls so direct you can feel every gust in your fingertips. The real secret is what happens when the engine goes silent. The Taylorcraft can hold a stable glide at just 35 knots, slow enough that a forced landing feels less like a crash and more like a gentle arrival. In the hands of a pilot who knows the old ways, it is a parachute with wings. But the magic is not just in the air. On the ground, the F-21 is a mechanic's best friend. Take a fence post through the fabric, pull out a dope and fabric field kit, and you are patched and flying again before the sun sets. No waiting on back-ordered composite panels, no proprietary adhesives, no laptop diagnostics. The repair culture is as old as aviation itself: patch, stitch, dope, and go. That is why these planes survive where modern toys are written off at the first sign of trouble. Owners talk about landing in cornfields, patching up with canvas and glue, and flying out the next morning. It is not a myth. It is the legacy of design choices made when steel was cheap, labor was skilled, and every airplane was built to be fixed by its owner, not thrown away. In the world of forced landings, the Taylorcraft F-21 is the ace in the hole. When the FAA rulebook becomes a relic and the network of parts suppliers fades, this is the tractor that keeps flying. Not because it is the toughest, but because it is the simplest. In a future where survival favors the adaptable and the repairable, the F-21 stands ready, whispering the old promise, as long as you can patch fabric and turn a wrench, you will never be grounded. Number 2, the Cessna 170A is the all-metal generalist that turned the phrase parts king into a survival plan. When the flying iPads start blinking error codes and the world's supply chain grinds to a halt, it is the 170A that keeps flying, because there is always another wing rib, another flap hinge, another tailwheel assembly tucked away in a hangar or catalog somewhere on Earth. This is the tractor that never runs out of spares. The high wing design is not just for looks. It shields the cabin from brush and rocks on rough strips, and when you bolt on a set of EDO floats or clamp down a ski conversion, the 170A shrugs and gets back to work. The secret is in the logistics. No other tractor in this league has a global support network like the Cessna 170 Association. Thousands of members, decades of technical archives, and a living map of parts hordes from Alaska to Australia. The type certificate is a living document, with supplemental type certificates for everything from big tire bush mods to modern engine swaps. If you need a replacement elevator, you do not wait for a boutique fabricator, you pull a part off a 172 or scan the club classifieds. The 170A's aluminum semi-monocoque structure might not have the brute impact resistance of chromoly tube, but it is a repairman's dream. Drill out the rivets, patch the skin, and you are back in the air before the next rainstorm. In the hands of a determined pilot mechanic, the 170A is more than a machine, it is a lifeline. This is the airplane that built the post-war backcountry, that taught 3 generations to trust metal over plastic, and that proves every day why the world's biggest parts bin still matters. When regulatory storms close in and the toys are grounded for lack of a microchip, the 170A rolls out of the barn, fueled by a century of spare parts and the stubborn hope that nothing built for profit will ever outlast something built for keeps. Only one tractor edges it out, but the 170A is the reason the rest of us still have a fighting chance. And finally, in first place, the Champion 7 GC-BC is the last plane standing when every flying iPad has blinked out and every composite nose wheel is scrap. This is the tractor that haunts the end of the runway, waiting for the moment when only real steel matters. Its bones are pure 4130 chromoly, hand-welded by men who knew what a bad weld could cost. Every joint a promise that the machine will take a beating and come back for more. The landing gear, spring steel with a wide stance and shock-absorbing legs, does not just survive 500 feet per minute arrivals, it shrugs them off. NTSB records and Type Club logs read like a roll call of punishment. Gear bent in Alaska, welded in a barn, flying again the same afternoon. Montana, Idaho, the Yukon, wherever the dirt strips are roughest, the 7 GC-BC lands, bounces, and launches again, while the toys wait for a tow truck. There is a reason field welds on these airframes are measured in hours, not weeks. The 4130 tubing yields at 90,000 PSY, but never shatters, allowing mechanics to cut, sleeve, and TIG weld a repair right on the grass. No waiting for proprietary adhesives, no laptop diagnostics, no parts grounded by a software update. The Champion's gear is a sledgehammer, 12 to 15 G drop tolerance, proven in backcountry logs where owners document 600, 700, even 800 feet per minute bounces, patched, tensioned, and flying out the same day. 17GC-BC with over 14,000 hours has survived 5 such impacts, each time returning to the air with nothing more than a new weld and a story to tell. But it is not just the iron. The The 7GCBC is kept alive by a living network, over 3,000 Type Club members, a parts catalog that never runs dry, and an owner culture that treats every repair as an act of patriotism. Annual fly-ins draw hundreds of champs, each one proof that real airplanes are built to be fixed, not replaced. When the FAA rulebook is a memory and the supply chain is a rumor, the Champion 7GCBC will be the last airplane to lift off from a dirt road, patched, battered, but utterly unkillable. This is the final answer to the question, when the world ends, which machine survives? The one built by hands, flown by grit, and kept alive by a tribe that refuses to let the tractor die. Across these 10 iron tractors, one truth stands. When the flying iPads shut down, it is 4130 steel, hand-welded joints, and mechanical linkages that keep flying. The old sledgehammers don't care about silicon or fragile aluminum, just torque, grease, and grit. In a world built on disposability, these machines are survival. When everything else fails, it is the tractors that answer the call. Which one would you trust when the lights go out?